Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about different approaches of saving the cost of Microsoft 365 licenses as well as Office 365 licenses, right? We generally tend to purchase many different licenses for different use cases, but there are different licenses and feature sets available in Microsoft 365 ecosystem. We all know that, and maybe there are different people who are not aware about the different licenses, different feature sets are part of different licenses. Maybe it is E3, E5 or Office 365 3 E5. And apart from that, there are other licenses like Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium, and then Business One, right? So apart from those licenses, there are other add-on plans for all of these different plans, right? So to get add-on plans, we need to definitely purchase those additional licenses and then assign. But there are different scenarios, different use cases when we end up purchasing different licenses altogether, when we have set up uh, different licenses altogether. Let's say we have E3 license as well as we have E5, but still we end up purchasing Exchange Plan 1, Exchange Plan 2 license separately, or we end up purchasing Defender for Business, Defender for Office Plan 2, right? Or it could be the part of EMS, which is Enterprise Mobility and Security, E3 or E5, right? So now if we imagine that we have E3, E5, as well as we have purchased other add-on plans like Exchange Online Plan, Office 365, a Defender for Business, Defender for Office 365, right? Those are the add-on plans. Along with that, we do have uh, a business standard license, business basic license, right? So this is going to become a big list of licenses, and then we are going to use those licenses for different use cases, or maybe we wanted to use a business basic license for a service account only for receiving and sending an emails from that respective service wherever we have configured it, right? And also if we wanted to run maybe automation or automate flow by creating Power Automate automation flows, right? And we would assign a specific license to that account, and that account is going to be considered as a service account, but it has a license in the backend in order to run those flows actively, right? So these are the different use cases, scenarios, and basis on that, we definitely do going to purchase additional licenses as well as assign those. But when we have those plans, but we really don't do the consolidation of licenses and we really don't see the conflicts of the licenses, right? So for example, we have assigned E5 license to the users, right? And then we have also assigned the Enterprise E3 or Enterprise E5, which is EMS, right? Which has a Intune Plan 1, then the Azure AD or Entra ID, right? The same license or same capability is available with E5 license as well, and those are going to be overlapping those functionalities and features, right? To avoid that, definitely we need to look into the situations, or we need to look into the feature sets of each license plan, and accordingly we definitely need to drill down or make sure that only the respective licenses are assigned and it has appropriate feature sets and services those are needed to those users to use. So how we can determine it? So it is basically depend on different categories. If we have power users, then definitely we are going to assign E3 or E5 license, which has additional security and compliance and all other feature sets, right? And if we don't want to assign that license, then definitely we can assign a lower scales license like E3 or maybe business standard, business premium, or business basic. So those are the different categories that we can assign basis on the real use case or real need of that license, right? So basis on that, we can assign it and drill down the license scope and capabilities on the user sides, right? So now I'm going to switch over to the different approaches that we can use and leverage, right? So the first approach is going to be right sizing licenses, as I mentioned, basis on the power user and a normal user, which is called as a light user as well, right? And basis on that, we can make sure user has appropriate license assigned and they can use it as per their role, their profile, and their requirements. And we can also do the monitoring of the licenses, how users are using those licenses with feature sets, and we can get the usage analytics of those licenses, right? So second approach is going to be remove unused licenses. If we have licenses assigned to those accounts which are those users who left the organizations, as well as the accounts which are unnecessarily created, but we forgot to remove the licenses, and we are not using those licenses for any of the purpose, maybe service account or user account or business account or anything at all, right? So those are the situations. Apart from that, if we have deleted account and that account stays in the recycle bin or deleted section for 30 days, right, we can recover it. But if we have assigned a license to that account, that means the license is also going to be stay with that account for that particular period, right? And if we are saying that we are not utilizing that license, because definitely we had deleted account and we don't know where that license is consumed or used. So those are the three different approaches for removed or unused license, right? The next is utilization of said mailboxes for the scenarios where we really don't need to spend additional cost for the internal communication, as well as it can be used for communications with the different users across the organization, as well as across inside and outside the organization as well, right? So this way we can make sure utilization of the shared mailboxes is effective, and it can improve the significant cost savings, right? The fourth is consolidation of the tenants. So this is something when we have multiple tenants for the same organization, then we can either consolidate all the tenants and avoid duplicate licensing capabilities, as well as operational efficiencies, right? So this is going to give us the capability to reduce the cost down, right? And then we can manage the resources effectively across the organizations. And then next is going to be leverage group-based licensing. So now you might be wondering how we can use the group-based licensing effectively to save the cost, right? So this is something, by creating those groups, we can automatically assign those licenses to those user accounts, as soon as the user account is disabled or maybe deleted, that license should automatically be revoked. So this is something we need to make sure, create appropriate groups, and group has a dynamic membership rules created with it, so that as soon as user is created and active in the tenant, that user gets the license assigned automatically. And once the license is assigned, then that account gets the provision successfully, and all the services are automatically available for that particular user account. But as soon as we disable that account in the tenant, and the user's account is successfully removed or maybe disabled, then that account should be removed, or the license should be removed, and the next process should be happen, like converting a mailbox and all those activities, right? The next approach is going to be by using third-party tools for optimization, but that is something, here we are trying to avoid a cost, trying to save a cost, right? And if we are using third-party tools to get the insights of the license usage and feature set usage, probably this is not going to be the right way for each and every organization, each and every team, if we calculate that way. But definitely this is going to add some value at certain point when we have a bigger or larger organizations, right? In that case, this is going to add value and help the organizations to drill down the cost and see, because if we have thousands and lakhs of user accounts in the tenant, then definitely we should consider something which is going to give us a real value from that system for licenses and feature sets and everything that we are using across the organization. The next approach is the leveraging hybrid use benefits. So this is something when we have hybrid environment across the organizations, on premises and cloud. And if we have those kind of capabilities enabled already within environment, then we can get the on-premises software assurance, and it also comes with apply hybrid benefits, right, to reduce the Microsoft 365 cost. So definitely it is going to help us to reduce and drill down the cost at particular period. And if we see the long-term cost and expenses of the licensing and cloud-based services, definitely it is going to give us a number that we're really going to save that cost. The next approach is going to be leveraging free license for education and non-profit organizations, right? So for education and non-profit organizations, those are the organizations where Microsoft uh, definitely gives some credits. They do have different programs for those kind of industries and organizations to give those different licenses. And in some or at certain point, there are certain costs as well. So definitely there is something that we can leverage out those license plans and use those for such kind of industries like education and non-profit organizations. And the another is auditing and eliminating duplicate applications. So definitely this is something when we are using different applications, like we are using Teams and Zoom as well as maybe Google Meet at the same time. So these are the three different platforms we are using, and we are paying for all those three platforms. That means we have a bunch of different systems, right? And we wanted to eliminate to save and reduce the costs. So we can definitely remove the other tools and systems like Zoom or maybe a Google Meet or maybe Teams, and keep any one system for the organizations that can be used, and we can save a lot of cost, right? The another is going to be optimized storage with OneDrive and SharePoint, right? So how we can optimize the storage? We can avoid overpaying for external cloud storages when SharePoint and OneDrive is fully integrated with Microsoft 365 and Office 365 SharePoint, right? And if we are using any third-party solutions like Dropbox, Google Drive, or Box, or any other platform, right? So those are the additional cloud storage, and we can optimize for cost as well as for the data and everything together, and we can save a lot of cost as well, right? The next approach is going to be annual versus monthly billing. So now this is something is really need to consider when we are purchasing the licenses for a particular period or maybe for longer term, right? So these are the ways. If we are purchasing licenses, it is always recommended, and it's good way to save a cost with those licenses and subscriptions when we are going with annual, because definitely there would be some discount, as well as on a per license basis the cost is going to be lesser than the expected, right, or the actual cost. And if we are paying bills on monthly basis, then the cost is going to be something that whatever the cost is allocated by the service provider, that they are going to ask for, right? So let's say the cost is for a particular license is $30, and if we are paying bills on monthly basis, then they are not going to reduce any cost for us. But if we are asking for the annual billing or annual uh, subscription, then definitely they are going to provide us a certain discount, and from that level we can save the cost, right? So this is something annual and monthly billing capacity or capability that we can leverage to save the costs on the annual commitment with the lower rates. The next is monitoring feature usage, right? So this is something monitoring the license as well as the usage capacity of all those different licenses, and we can see how people are using those licenses effectively. And if the usage is very less or medium or average, then definitely there is a opportunity for us to educate the users and then ask people to use and leverage those capabilities of licenses, and they can get the full potential of those systems, right? And definitely it's going to help for improving their productivity as well. The next approach is going to be add-on licenses instead of using a full or complete license, right? So as I said, if we have E3, E5, as well as EMS, E3 or E5 license, and still we are procuring Defender for Business or Defender for Office 365 or maybe Exchange Online Plan 1 or Plan 2, right? These are the different add-on plans, right? So definitely, instead of buying a full license, we can leverage the add-on plans, because add-on plans has a certain cost, and definitely that's the lower cost than the full plan or full license. Full license as in considered as a full plan, for example, E3, E5, those are the full plans which has a bunch of features, bunch of services together. But if we don't really need to assign that license to those users based on their roles or profiles, and if the users are normal standard users and those are not VIP users, and also if we look into the security and compliance and all other those capabilities, and we don't really look into those capacities, then definitely we should go with the basic business standard, and then on top of that we can add additional add-on licenses to bring the security as well as some compliance portion of it, right? And save the cost, obviously. So that is also needed to consider and understand while evaluating those licenses and everything together. The next is going to be managing external and guest users, basically. How we wanted to manage those users. Are we going to assign any licenses to those external and guest users in order to access any of the Microsoft 365, Office 365 services, right? And basis on that, we can decide if yes, then how much it is going to cost us, because cost is something that's what we are going to pay to the service provider. In this case, maybe Microsoft or any other provider, then we are going to pay the cost, right? So in most cases, we really don't need to assign any of the licenses, but there are use cases or scenarios where we would be assigning a particular license, could be SharePoint or OneDrive or Teams, right? So those are the different situations where we wanted to, or we have to assign the license, right? And if not, then we simply don't need to assign license and we can save the cost there too. And another approach is going to be a renewal for non-critical features, right? So this is going to be a feature-wise capacity or feature-wise usage of the licenses. And basis on that, we can decide which license is really been used effectively. And then if not, then we simply can maybe postpone the renewal, or we can discontinue those licenses, and we really don't need to spend that lot of money. The next is training and educating of the users. So here we need to educate the users to utilize the full capacity as well as feature sets of those assigned licenses. And then we need to make sure users are and people are leveraging Microsoft Teams, planners, Yammer, and other different applications and tools within Microsoft 365 ecosystem, so that the productivity is also increased and the license usage and utilization is also been used at to the capacity, right? And the next approach is going to be monitoring license usage regularly, right? So this is the approach where which is going to give us insights, details about the usage and how people are using it, right? So basis on that, we can decide, okay, so these many users are using a number of licenses with the full of its potential, full of its license features and everything together. And we really don't need to change their license plans or licenses for those users, but there is another group of people who are not using those set of features, set of licenses. Instead of that, and we found that only certain services are being used, like Exchange, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, and we really don't need to assign any other license plans or any other services from those plans, right? And we can only assign that particular license for that user, right? So this way we can understand the auditing and uses of the licenses, and then we can reduce those licenses, and then the cost is definitely going to be reduced as well, right? So yeah, these are the different strategies that we can use to continuous monitoring and analysis of the licenses, and it is going to help us to save the significant costs and better utilization of resources across the Microsoft 365 environment, right? So yeah, that's all for this video. Hope you will like it. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to watch other videos across the Microsoft 365 and Azure. And I also talk about FinOps, right? So I have few videos about FinOps and a few videos on Azure. And I have more plans to come up with different videos and different topics on Azure, FinOps, and Microsoft 365. So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.